Hey, ladies, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. Technical difficulties aside, we start. I don't know if you guys know about us or how we do it, but we start off every podcast with the over-the-top intro, mainly because we are slobberingly grateful for any guest, especially those of your magnitude who just grace us with our presence. So we're going to start it off right now, based on how I see you. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, our first guest hails from the boroughs of Homes and Churches, better known as Brooklyn, New York. You loved her in Phoenix Rising. She kept between us. You are going to love her as Cal in August at 22, and she is one of three founders of Lady Parts Productions, and most importantly, Peyton's dogged mama, my second guest. Sophia Cantor, she is from Southern California by way of Brooklyn, New York. You may know her from her works as The Good Choices, 2008, and now the director of August at 22. She is also 1/3 of the founders of Lady Parts Production and also a hyperactive Renaissance woman. We will get into what that means in a few minutes. And lastly, and certainly not leastly, she is the pride of Canfield Senior High School Student Council, all the way from Youngstown, Ohio. Let's test this out and see if it works.
I know.
And currently resides in Brooklyn, New York. You may know her from her various projects along the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Beat Saber. Thanks for that, by the way. She is also 1/3 of the founders of Lady Parts Production and is the producer guiding this film. Mary Sophia, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Amazing.
You know about Peyton, who, by the way, was my childhood dog, who died like 2 years ago.
We have a pretty good research department.
That's some internet sleuthing right there. Jesus.
Well, we start off by doing that because this film was great. I loved it. Me and my wife, we sat down, we watched it, and you guys hit a nerve. And that's my first question. The first thing you did, you captured a very difficult time of people. I am a product of Eastern Michigan University, and I know that period between graduation and I want to say grown-up world, where you're trying to figure yourself out. You're trying to figure out what makes your focus, what's going on. What made you focus on this specific period of time?
Yeah, so great question. I was going through my own August at 22. So I started writing this I just graduated college. I'd moved to New York. I had made all of these amazing, complicated, incredible friendships. And as I was doing that, I kind of was just writing away. I kept a diary. I was writing little scenes based on, events or big moments that had happened, whether it'd be like a date that had gone terribly wrong or like the best audition I'd ever had. So I started writing scenes. And then after, 5 or 6 or so scenes, I was like, wait a minute, this is a film. And it's an important film. And I know it's an important film because I'm living it right now. And I feel insane. So if I can find a way to get this insanity and these emotions and this instability down on a page and then bring it back to life, well, then I've done something that's universal. So the more personal I can get, the more universal it'll be. So that's kind of how I decided to write August at 22. I knew that, I was going through it and it was important to me and I had to say it. So if I had to say it, I thought someone's got to relate to it. I hoped.
Exactly. And we all kind of relate to it, even though this is, I don't want to say autobiographical, but it is something that hit a lot of people, granted, I wasn't exactly I wasn't an actor. I went to school for a
Right.
business. And
Right.
but that period, that let's say June through October, is just nothing. I
It's
mean,
not.
like it's just you don't know who to trust, what is going on, and no one mailed me my adult card. No
Exactly.
one, no one gave me instructions. Yeah, hey, congratulations. All right, get out of here.
Yeah,
Be an adult.
absolutely. Sophia and I have talked about this a lot. Actually, we all have talked about this a lot. It really, so August of 22 is a coming of age film. It's not, many coming of age films happen when, you're in your early teens, you're hitting puberty, you're growing up then, but there's the second coming of age that happens when you graduate from college, you're out thrown into the real world and you're like, what now? Because you kind of have nothing and you want everything. And there are other coming of ages. I think, I'm hitting another coming of age now, entering my, 30s and thinking about getting married and starting families and what my work life looks like from here. So this is one of the coming of ages. And I think that while Cal is very specific and we really dive into like queerness because Cal is queer
Mm-hmm.
and diving into her very varied, very complex romantic, physical, platonic relationships. And she's an actress, and these things are very specific to Cal, but the feelings that she's working through and the desires are super universal. Everybody wants home. Everyone wants stability of some sort. Everyone wants to not hate themselves. And I think that, yeah, Cal is just working through that in real time under her own specific circumstances.
Now you kind of push it right now, and I'm wording my words very carefully because I don't want to spoil the movie or anything like that. But like Sophia, before you were a director, you were an actress as well. Allie kind of said she related to a lot of stuff. Mary, maybe you could chime in as well. Did you guys also go through some of those auditions that she went through where it was just sort of like no before you even walk through the door, or it was tough?
Yeah, I mean, 100%. When I first moved to the city, I'm a non-union actor and I also do theater. And I would wake up at 4 a.m. in Uptown, go take a train to Midtown, go to an audition center that wasn't even open yet, but that had this like dinky little lined piece of paper taped up to the front doors that just said non-union list. And there would be like maybe 4 other names on the list. And I would just like get that number 5 spot, go back uptown, get my hair and makeup on, eat breakfast, practice the song that I'm going to do for the audition, go back to Midtown, and then sit and sit and sit and sit and sit, and then either not get seen or, yeah, the second I walk through the door, they're not even looking at me when I'm singing the song or doing the monologue. And I'm like, why did I do that? So I definitely related to that part of Paul's journey as an actress. It's tough out here.
Okay. And Mary, your granted, I didn't read where you were the actress, but did you have similar experiences when you were trying to break in?
I am not an actress, have never been an actress, don't plan on being an actress, but I
Mark.
think that
Yeah, smart, for real.
but I think that it's a like Sophia said, it's tough out here. It's incredibly challenging to be an indie filmmaker, and also the biggest challenge I think a lot of people face in New York is building community and building creative community that they feel confident with. So until I had met Sophia and Allie, I had felt like I was floundering in my creative community and trying to find people that aligned with my goals as well. And then I found Sophia and Allie.
Okay. And like one of the like God, it's hard to word this question, so I'm gonna say it so I don't spoil the movie. Um, what do you think was the biggest struggle during this movie? The idea of what success is, or just being loved? Because I think she struggles with both of those
Yeah.
throughout this entire movie.
Yeah. So is the question like what is Cal's biggest
Yeah,
struggle?
what was Cal's biggest thing? Because she jumps into both worlds, where there's God, all right, I worded my question so I don't tell any iota of the
all
movie,
good.
but she struggles with that because it's sort of like both elements are there, but it almost like she has to sacrifice one for the other.
Yeah, yeah. So I think, at the heart of Cal and what is getting in the way of her career, what's getting in the way of her solidifying her friendships and fostering her friendships is insecurity. I think Cal's biggest struggle is really coming to accept who she is as a person and accepting that there are flaws and knowing that's okay, while also looking to improve herself and trying to be a better person for herself and the people around her. So I would say that, yeah, Cal's biggest struggle is her insecurity. It kind of prevents her and gets in the way of basically everything. I think you can always track it back to that. It's something I work on with my therapist actually, where it's like, okay, well, why are you afraid of this thing? And it's like, oh, I don't want to go to this party. Well, why don't you want to go to this party? And then you keep going down and down and down. And for Cal, it's this fear of being hated.
Wow. And like Sophia directing this, how do you tap into the cast mindset when they say things like, what do you do? Just, hey, no one likes you in this scene. All right, get out of here. Or, hey, remember what is the most awkward? Do you give notes like that? The most awkward time in your life, and go.
Oh,
I only had to do that one time for this. I'm not going to spoil it. There's only one scene, and it's toward the end, just a Cal scene, because it was necessary to get. I don't really like to yell that kind of direction. We do a lot of rehearsals before we start shooting, and we just sort of naturally through that process find those moments of okay, how does it feel when these two people are talking to each other but not to you? Okay, how does it feel, especially with Bobby, in this dinner scene with Cal, Jacob, and Emily, I was curious how, Jorge, the actor, felt being on the outskirts of the conversation, and what is that like? And have you ever seen your friend interact with people like this? And it's more questions throughout the rehearsal process, and then trusting that when, we say action on set, that stuff sticks with the actors. And my job was very easy. These are amazing actors, and I think it also let the rehearsal process also let there be a lot of spontaneity on the set, and we improved in and out of scenes, and there were so many funny moments of improv that unfortunately are not in the actual film, but there are some that are there. But it's just I look back at those moments so fondly, because I'm oh my gosh, that was just such a perfect group of actors to be working on my first feature with.
Okay. And Mary, I feel you had a hand in this because a lot of the scenes, granted it was around New York, but they made it seem so relatable and so normal. Did I attribute that to you, because how was it hey, what's the best place to feel awkward? All right, I know a place. I attribute that to you, but is that seriously? Is that how it went down?
I think that all three of us had ideas on where we wanted to film certain scenes. There was a very specific New York experience that all three of us had, and we pulled different pieces from that. So for the busking scene, when Bobby's just trying to make rent, Sophia had shot in Maria Hernandez Park before. So, Sophia was very adamant that that's the spot to do it. The bar scene, or the East Village sequence, is, I'm so sorry, I have sound effects over here. The East Village sequence, in which Em and Cal are having their dreamy time together. Ali had that experience and had certain places that she wanted to shoot in. And so they all came together kind of seamlessly. And then I just did the work of logistically, how do we get there, and how do we get our crew and our entire team together to make it work. So I think that it was all three of us had ideas of what felt real and felt right for this movie, and we all had to work together to make it happen.
Okay. Hey, here's a question I want to ask all three of you. And this is not spoiling the movie, but I just want to know for my own personal, is Bobby a real person? It has to be based on a real person because Bobby, I know a few Bobbies in my life. So yes, no, is it amalgam of every Bobby in our collective lives?
I think that Bobby for me is an amalgamation of a lot of people I know. There's a lot of artists in New York that have the ambition and the drive that Bobby does. And I think that I have a little bit of that in me. You want to make something happen. And so you go out and do it. And that's also the big difference between Cal and Bobby a lot of the time is Bobby is driven. Bobby is optimistic. Bobby knows what it takes to make their dreams come true. And Cal thinks things will happen for her or be given to her. Yeah. So I think that all of these characters are an amalgamation of people we know, and I've met a ton of Bobbies, and I think that I have some Bobby in me as well.
Okay. One other thing, since this is out, and I don't think I'm spoiling anything by now, but you guys have hit the festival scene. You guys have you guys kind of ducked in a little bit, looked at the screeners, see how people are reacting? Well, how are people reacting to this?
Oh, yes. Honestly, I have these a million pinch me moments every time we show the film. I'm always shocked with how much people relate to the film, especially because it's so personal. But again, they do say like the more personal you get, the more universal it is. And I wrote a very personal story. So I think for me, the sign of success and kind of what your question boils down to is we showed the movie recently at Provincetown Film Festival. And on our Thursday showing, there was a ton of folks, I would say 35 and under. And, a few folks came up to us after the screening and were like, I just graduated college. You hit the nail on the head. This is exactly what it's like. And then, so, and that felt amazing. And then on our Saturday showing, we had honestly mostly folks that were 60 and up, and hearing raucous laughter from 70-year-olds, 60-year-olds at these moments in our film that are so young and so personal and so like 22 was, I would say in some ways even more validating. And folks coming up to me at the end and being like, that's exactly what it was like. I remember it. Like, thank you for kind of bringing me back to that. And a tagline that we use for the film is, we hope it makes you feel 22 again, or at least extremely happy that you're not anymore. Yeah. So that's something we kind of had throughout. We wanted it to feel really personal. We wanted it to feel like you were there. I remember showing our proof of concept to my parents' friends when I threw them a dinner. Sophia and I like sang a song for them. We're trying to raise money for the film. We walked away with like $2,000, which was absolutely incredible. But I remember one of my dad's friends who's like, 76 years old was like, I was there. Like I was there, not just like watching it. I felt like I was there, but like, I remember and it transported me back to that time. So, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And I have a very selfish kind of final question because I know we're up against it. It's very selfish. I just want to come out and say it. Look, this film gave me new characters, people to root for, people to just kind of look into. So I'm very curious how this, and I'm wording this very carefully, how this movie ended. I kind of want to see more. And it left. So will there be a sequel or follow-up? Will we see Bobby in something else? They're right there for the taking. I mean, like,
I know. That's something that we've talked about before, because I think these characters, even ancillary characters, because they're all based on folks we know and love. And so I think they are very real and actualized in the film. They all have their own stories to tell. And Sophia, Mary Elizabeth, and I have toyed with the idea of like, I think maybe there is like a February at 32 or like an April at 29. Like, I really do feel like you can you can play with these characters and in this format. And I would love to drop in on Emily, Jacob, Bobby. Like I would just, Adrian, you know, like I would love to drop in on any of these characters for a month in their life, 5+ years after 22. I think they're all really actualized and interesting, and you root for them, and they're all kind of real.
Yeah. And this is not really a question. This is more of a yes or no question. Yeah, I take that back. It is a yes or no question. This is the final question. That all three of you, that during the screenings, during who you've shown, family, friends, anyone ever get a text, pull you to the side, or give you a phone call, or just say, "That's me, isn't it?" That it just they just point to a character. That's me, right? Okay. Has that happened? You don't have to tell me who, but that has happened. Okay, okay. I'm getting the head nod over there. Mary Elizabeth looking in your direction. Okay, all right. Sophia, you directed this thing. Come on.
I mean, I didn't write it, so I feel like Allie was the one that got most of those questions, and I'm sure she got plenty of them.
I did. I mean, look, my friends are beautiful, complex, interesting, inspiring people who have been incredibly generous with letting me have them inspire the film. So very grateful. You know who you are, and I have been roasted for it. So
well, thank you guys so much for your time. I know we're up against it. Thank you for putting up with my technical difficulties. And you guys are welcome back to the podcast anytime, especially if you're doing February at 23, July at 39, whatever you want to do. I'll be here right here waiting on you. Thank you so much. And I'll make sure I put all the stuff on our social media just so people can see this and they can have their own feelings, whatever those feelings are of how they were at 22.
Thank you so much, Sam. This was really special.
This was so fun. Thank you.
Yeah, so much fun.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks, Annie.